Hey everybody. I just got off work, so forgive me if I'm a bit tired. Um, I also haven't really had the chance to get this all set up for video content, but the new 40 years of goth, well, men's goth style video came out today, and I felt like I would be remiss if I scoot up here. If I didn't talk about it a bit, talk about some of my reactions. I don't, because we talked about the first one so much on the second Gothquisition episode. Excuse me. I didn't really want to spend a whole other segment talking about the new one. Yeah, I'm going to have to work on this camera, so forgive my all this crap right now. So I thought I'd make a video for you guys talking about it. If you haven't seen it, you can find it on YouTube. Can you hear me back here? Boy, I hope so. Liisa, well, if you look up 40 years of men's goth style, you can find it on YouTube. So I want to run through these real quick. Overall, I felt like the model this time was. I thought his emotes, as it were a bit better. I think he got into character a bit more. They kind of fell apart in a few places, but I thought he did a decent job. The first look was punk, which again, she put hashtag know your history. I just saw that. Again, it's irrelevant, right, for fashion because so sure, goth music came out of punk, post-punk, right? So there's some connection there, but if it's know your history, how far back are you gonna go? Are you gonna go back and do a Victorian fashion as well? Or are you gonna go back and do like monk fashion with the cool robes that we appropriated? You know, are you just gonna? There's like an infinite regress there. One thing led to another thing led to another thing. Just start where it's generally agreed upon that, you know, that all the goth stuff started. But whatever. The look itself does not look like a 76 punk, in my opinion. I think it looks more like a uniform, like what all the thing all the punks complained about, that killed punk in some people's minds. Second look was, what do we got? New romantic. Nice to see that. They did a decent job. I thought I didn't really have much of a problem with this. I'm glad they included it. You know, if they were just going to do the 40 years of goth with the lady, God, I should have worn some makeup. Again, I just got home from work. That, you know, they could have substituted some of those looks for something, for instance, like this, new romantic. This still had stuff missing, like you could have swapped something out for a groofy look. There's some other looks I can't think of off the top of my head. Again, I'm pretty tired. So, but yeah, that was good. After that was Trad Goth, 1985. I didn't have too much of a problem with this. This looks actually pretty similar to something I saw in a early 80s interview with some goth teenagers. They were under a bridge somewhere, some groofties. This looks similar to that. This is something I could see people wearing in the 80s. It's hard to argue against it because there was such variety. I'm trying to remember. I think they did something similar in the previous video, which was shit. I don't remember exactly though. But this one, I think it's fine. The boots He's got cowboy boots on, and yeah, I don't know about that, but everything else, again, not a problem. He's been kind of stupid in his poses, but so far, like, the video is better than the previous one. After that, we get to the best look, in my opinion, which is the vampire. And it was funny. My first thought was, "Hey, that guy, he looks just like Barnaby, just like Mr. Owl." So yeah, they got this look right. The nails. Yeah, this is definitely something I would see in the 90s and even now. So then they go into industrial, which again, this is another one of those problems where if you want to call the video 40 years of dark alternative style, or 40 years of Schwarzeszene, or something, some bigger umbrella term, you could put industrial in there. Just like with, confusingly, how they had steampunk in the last video. It seems that the only criteria to be included is as a goth look, as part of the fashion taxonomy, is to have an interaction. So like you'll see, goths and industrial people go to the same clubs because there's, such limited choice. But they're two distinct scenes. Steampunk and goth even more so, unquestionably in that case. So, and we see this problem later on. So this is not a goth fashion. It's not a goth look. This look, so if we're judging the look itself from an industrial perspective, I would classify this as a fetish goth, right? He's got the PVC vest. He's got a kilt on. He's doing some weird ass head banging, which doesn't make sense. He's got some bracelets and a choker. And to me, this is fetish goth. I've never seen an industrial, like so I would go like, this is supposed to be a rivet head, right? Now the two are different, but I'm assuming they're conflated here because there isn't a rivet head look in this one or the other one. This is not a rivet head look. This isn't really an industrial look. Industrial isn't really a look, right? Rivet head is the fashion for industrial music. And then you've got cyber for cyber music. Well, I think we get to that, but to me, this is a fetish goth look. Tell me if I'm off on that, but oh yeah. So then here we go. Cyber. Does she call it Cybergoth? Yeah, Cybergoth 2000. Again, something that came out of, that was in goth clubs but had its own genesis. It was a scene that appropriated from goth in several other places, but was not goth. It became its own scene. It had its own music. It had its own fashion, right? The fashion itself in here is okay. I've seen some people complain about it. I wouldn't complain about it too much. It's fairly accurate to certain cybergoth looks. We've got a fair amount of, not so much anymore, but I've seen a fair amount of cybergoths in clubs and at events and like anime conventions. It's close enough. I think the look is fine. It just shouldn't be in this video. Oh, good. Yeah. So then after this, we get to 2005, which this is where the previous video had, what was it? Pinup. This video has emo. So it shows hashtag sorry not sorry. So she already knows people are going to complain. But, you know, it's again, if this was like a dark alternative thing, then yes. There should be no reason for me to have to talk about why this should not be in the video. Right? Emo started as like, I think it was called emotional hardcore. It turned into post-hardcore. It came out of the hardcore scene, and when it started, and that was a very different sound. And you've got like old school emo bands, and then you have the new school emo bands, which is the style that we're seeing here. And then after that, you had scene, which was kind of related, and that's kind of what's around now. And that was the whole other thing. The only relation to goth was that in the mainstream, people conflated goths and emos. And for a while there, if you're old enough, you'll remember on the internet there was a lot of what's the difference between goth and emo, people explaining it, people asking the question, and it was always outsiders or insiders making videos about why they were two completely different things. But historically, there's absolutely no crossover. The only thing would be there's some aesthetic similarities, very thin though, very obviously different aesthetics. And then there were some music crossovers for like Baby Bats in general. All that stuff was kind of in the Hot Topic chains. You had the Trip Pants, you had the emo stuff, you had some of the more sophisticated goth stuff for a little while in the early days. But I shouldn't have to talk about that anymore. And so to say sorry not sorry seems kind of like a fuck you, kind of like a I don't care. I don't care about the quality or the historicity or the accuracy of this video. And that kind of pisses me off, to be honest, especially coming from someone who should know better. She's a goth, and she wrote a book, and she's kind of a journalist. I think she's collaborated on various projects and things that are journalistic in nature. So it's trash. That really pissed me off. All right, after that, we have Edwardian, 2010. I don't know if I could put a date on this. I know it's been around, and it's still a thing some places, and it's been more popular at certain times. But yeah, I think the look's fine. It's a thing. It's one of those looks where you could see it. If you did it a little bit differently, it would be kind of steampunk. But I think it's something where it's one of those looks that a lot of goths have something similar in their wardrobe, right? So goths, fashion taxonomies are fine, but most goths have all different types of fashions, right? That's why this whole thing about if you're a romantic goth, you're this certain thing, or if you're a cybergoth, that's a bad example, but if you're a 90s goth or whatever, they put you in a box. But most goths have all different ranges of styles. These days I tend to dress more death rock and do DIY stuff, and I'm really into that right now, but I still have a lot of different styles, and I like to mix and match. And I think most goths do that. So anyway, after that, what do we have? This is the last one, I think. And I appreciate that she put it in here. 2015 Death Rock Revival. Interesting as a historical taxonomy, because the really big death rock revival, I think, was about 10 years ago. I don't have an exact date, but there was a death rock revival when industrial was getting really big in the clubs, and so now I certainly think there is now as well. I'm not sure if it's to the same extent. Yeah, I guess you could say so. I do think that stuff's kind of coming back. And, there's a cyclical element to it, but I appreciate at least the thought of putting this in here. I think it should be in here. It makes sense if you're talking about goth style, right? And if you're not going to make death rock, I guess she did it in the last video. Yeah, that was the one where she dressed her up as Nina Hagen and then called it death rock for some reason. So as far as the accuracy, it's hard to say. There's pieces of this that work, right? So the Death Hawk, it looks really fucking cool, especially since it's a wig. I'm really impressed with that. The leggings under the ripped fishnets, also cool. The skirt, so he's got a bondage belt on. That's good. He's got some, rings and accessories and things. That's also good. He's got ripped arm sleeves, but they're not sleeves. They only go up to the elbow, which is kind of confusing. It could work. The skirt, I don't think that works. I don't think that's a death rock thing. The makeup is fine. I saw some people bitching about it. I think it's fine. But again, the makeup, that when I do put on makeup, it's very small, very little. So whatever. He's got like the Demonia kind of combat boots on. I also saw some people complaining about that. People were saying, "Oh, why isn't he wearing winkle pickers, whatever, or pikes?" I'm okay with it. This look is kind of a death rock look you'd see on Tumblr. It's not really something I've seen in person, but if I did something similar to this with those boots, I wouldn't really be surprised. So I don't think complaining about the shoes is too warranted, but pikes would have been more appropriate. My biggest problem with this, other than the skirt, is the shirt he's wearing. This is very specifically a post-apocalyptic kind of cyber top. And I know you can buy this online. I can't remember the name of the store. But if they wanted to do a ripped fishnet thing, they should have just bought a few different pairs of fishnets, cut up a t-shirt, ripped up the fishnets, put those on, put the t-shirt on over that, which is, what I do when I actually dress up. So it's like a mixed bag here. It's cool that he's got the nose ring to the ear thing. And they gave him the little sideburns, these things. So it's not bad. Could have been better. There's a really cute thing at the end where Liisa comes up and puts him on a leash, and he gives her like this adorable little like he resists for a little bit. It's really cute, I think. So overall, I definitely thought this video was better. I thought the music was better as well. Honestly, the last one was a pile of shit with a couple exceptions. This one was better with a couple piles of shit, I think. So I definitely think she improved, but there's, like I said, there were some serious problems. Again, I've talked with a few friends, and I think it would be really fun if we could get the studio. All we would need to do is get a few key people together, or a lot of people together, and bring in their wardrobes, and we could do a much more accurate video. I think I hear my puppy waking up, so I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Anyway, guys, thanks for supporting us on Patreon. I'm not sure when I'm going to release this, and I might share it on the Facebook page, depending on how it turns out. But yeah, that's my opinion on that. So until next time, stay dark.